Well, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are across the globe. Welcome to I Am Sure Sports. I am Omar Stennett. And again, I am delighted that you have joined us again. Yes, indeed, we are back again. We have some good stuff lined up for you on this, our 15th episode. But firstly, let me thank all our subscribers. This is a new work. We're growing slowly but surely. You know, the aim is to get it up to 1,000, but we're taking it baby steps, right? You know the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But tell somebody about it. Remember to like, share, make a comment, and subscribe. Very important that you subscribe to the channel. Give us your thoughts and your feedback. We try our best to respond to all persons who comment on our videos. All right, remember, we're on Instagram. You can follow us there, and we're also on Facebook. You can follow us there as well. Check us out also on Irie Times TV. We're there on Fridays, Saturdays with a bang. We're going to jump right into it, talking about local football, our Reggae Boys and the Jamaica Football Federation. All right, you would have heard by now that they have finally agreed after the intervention of Coach Theodore Whitmore, at least coming out of the statement from the attorney representing the senior boys. The deal kind of was decided on in terms of agreeing to it, primarily based on the intervention of Coach Theodore Whitmore. I do believe that he should have been involved from the very onset, but never too late for a shower of rain. So I want to commend Coach Whitmore for whatever he did, whatever he said, however he influenced or inspired the players to sign on to this deal. Commend the GFF in their willingness to negotiate, and the players in based on all that we have heard, they have, really accepted less than they initially proposed. And so that is commendable, and it does show that these guys want to do something big for our nation. I'm a proponent of people getting rewarded for their work. And I have always believed that as long as it was within the GFF's power, what the players ask for should be given to them. I believe that if you're a professional and you offer a service and you set your standard in terms of salary, you must be afforded it. All right? That's number one. I also believe, though, that people must operate within reasonable budget. You should not spend more than you have. All right? And you should not spend all that you have. You always must spend leaving a reserve. Don't go over and don't break even. Always spend in terms of budget spending, leaving reserve for the future, for the rainy day. And so the fact that all parties came together is a very good thing. And so what does this mean going ahead? I want to propose something that I think how the statement was worded from the players. I have a few concerns because the credit to the agreement is pointing directly, primarily, and solely to the influence of Coach Theodore Whitmore. What that says to me, and I could be wrong, but it says to me that the players still don't trust or respect the federation. So though the monetary issue has been solved, the trust integrity issue has not been resolved. All right, there was no thank you to the GFF. I have not heard the GFF come out either and said thank you to the players. All right, maybe that is going to happen in the future. So there still seem to be relational challenges and issues there that needs to be resolved. A kingdom divided against itself is going to fall. That's for sure. A divided team cannot, at the managerial or at the player level or at the coaching level, will not qualify for the World Cup and will not win the Gold Cup. I believe we have the capacity to win the Gold Cup this year and to qualify for the 22 World Cup in Qatar. I also believe that we have the squad that can bring us into the round of 16 in the World Cup. Minimum. That's my minimum expectation. And some people may think that I am too optimistic, but I believe in the potential of the players. And a lot of that has to do with how relationships are managed from this point going forward. All right? So here is part of my issue with the statement. The statement could indicate or imply this. It could be implying that if for whatever reason, because let me just backtrack. Coach Theodore Whitmore is one of the most successful Jamaican coaches in terms of his record, his win percentage, one of the best. And he has done it with way less resources than other coaches before him. And he deserves a lot of credit and applause for the work that he has done based on the resources he has been given. Let me say that. But this statement could mean, from my understanding, that if it is not Coach Whitmore, the players may take action again because their decision to sign this contract is based on Coach Whitmore. What if at the end of the Gold Cup, the team doesn't come out of the zone, their zone, and Whitmore fail? Do we keep him going into the World Cup qualifying campaign? And if the GFF decides that they are going to fire him and hire someone else, what is going to happen? Will the players still be as committed to the program? Are the players more committed to Coach Whitmore than they are committed to the football? That's the question. Maybe it's not the way I am seeing it, but that's how that statement could be read and understood by many. And a lot of times people will say things and what they say is not necessarily what they mean. But this is on paper. It means that time was taken to craft it, to look at it. And so the writing is very precise. It's very precise. This is not like someone said something. This is written. And people, when attorneys are responding, they use precise words and statements. And those statements are normally pointing to something else. So again, this letter is really saying that we are committed to the cause of Coach Whitmore. Now, I believe Whitmore is a good coach, but what if coaching is a result-based business? So if the results go against you, you stand to be fired. That's how the business operates. So will the players still be as committed if Coach Whitmore is relieved of his duty based on, of course, a failing record in the Gold Cup? If in the World Cup qualifiers, say he does well in the Gold Cup, fine. But in the World Cup qualifiers, the team is on the brink of not qualifying and needs some oomph. And part of the issue with them at the stage that they would be is that the coach has not been doing a good enough job in the eyes of the technical committee. All right, and they decide to bring in a new coach. will the players still be as committed? That's something that I think needs to be said to the public. The players should have in that said, we are committed to Jamaica's football. We are committed to working with the GFF. The GFF needs to come out and say something like that. There has been no gratitude on any side. On any side. And so I'm not blaming players. I'm not blaming the GFF. I'm just looking at this as it is indicating the in between the lines. You know, people say read in between the lines. The in between the lines reading is saying that there's still some issue that needs to be resolved. I am sure that, again, more mediation and dialogue is needed so that this team can progress to high heights in the World Cup and win the Gold Cup, because I believe we have the capacity to do that. The other thing I'm going to address as it relates to the national team is, again, this whole English-born players, locally born players. Now, Jamaica, we as a people, we are almost in every single sport, but a lot of the sport, like we call them the minor sporting events that we are involved in as a nation, a lot of the people don't reside in Jamaica. They didn't develop those skills in Jamaica, right? We have a diver who went to the World Championships, wasn't born in Jamaica, never lives in England. We have skiers, we have different persons who participate in what we call the minor events. That we have a guy who is a UFC fighter named Sterling, who they have Jamaican roots, but they represent Jamaica on a global level. And nobody complains about them. I believe that's the same look we need to take when it comes on to players who want to play for the national team who are born in England. They are just as Jamaican as you and just as Jamaican as me. They eat patties over there. They listen to reggae music. They consume Jamaican stuff. They still support their Jamaican families here in Jamaica. They are just as Jamaican as us. So we need to stop calling them English players and England. No, that kind of dialogue is unhealthy, because we don't do it to people who are participating in other sporting disciplines. If we had, say for example, they have this guy who plays for the Denver Nuggets, Jamal Murray, very good point guard. If he decides to play for Jamaica in basketball, are we going to tell him no? Are we going to tell him no? Would we have told Patrick Ewing you can't play for Jamaica? The thing is that we'd gladly take those people. Why? Because we don't have enough people in those sports in Jamaica to compete. But yet when it comes down to football, we want to have different standards. Our standards must be consistent. Years ago, they had this German singer called Gentleman who he did some reggae music, and I think he's German. But here's the thing, we still embrace him as a reggae artist. So I want us to look at that, because an integration of these players and some of the players that we presently have gives us the best opportunity to qualify for the World Cup. There's presently a female footballer who plays for Manchester United that I'd love for her to represent the Jamaica female football team. I have relatives who are good in different sporting disciplines that they have not been to Jamaica yet. And I'd want them to represent Jamaica in the future. I encourage them every day. There's a top female footballer who is born in America but qualifies to play for Jamaica. And I'm encouraging her parents to let her play for Jamaica. She's not less Jamaican than anyone else. In fact, I find that sometimes people who live overseas sometimes show more loyalty to Jamaica than people who actually live in Jamaica. More loyalty, more desire, more heart than those of us who are here. Because many of us only support the team when the team wins. You know how many World Cup qualifying campaign matches I've gone to, and the stadium is only a quarter of the stadium is occupied or filled. Remember the last game we played down in Montego Bay? How many of you turned up for that game? The one that was played at Sobana Park. So we are not any more loyal than some of these people. So, do I believe all of them should be in the squad? No. But there are some who are good enough to be in the team. Over the years, for example, Jamaica has struggled. A main area where we have struggled is in the area of what they call D-mid, holding mid, central midfielder, link man, whatever you want to call it. Even in the campaign, we had some issues in the campaign that we qualified. We started out with Chris Dawes, and then there was Peter Cargill who came on. People forget that Peter Cargill did not start out with the team. I mean, we had the Winston Anglin, you can go back, but after that generation, after the whole Peter Cargill, Winston Anglin, all of these guys, after that generation, Christopher Dawes, if you want to put him in it, and you could say Omar Daly. Outside of that, you had Evan Taylor, that Rene Simoes saw as a youngster and had him in it because he thought he was going to materialize into or matriculate into this great holding midfielder. It never panned out. We had Patrick Graham, big baller from Reno. Well, who is a very good coach now, but was coaching at Reno one time. Big baller. I played with him in a parish team when we were like 12 and 11. I mean, good midfielder. In our Premier League right now, it's very hard to find a young, talented holding midfielder. I think there is a Kevin Isaacs at Humble Lion, and Leonardo Rankin. He was at Cavaliers now. He's at Mount Pleasant. You have Keith Simpson from Waterhouse. How good are those guys? How good are those guys? Rene Lloyd, how good are these guys to bring us to? So we have always struggled over the years. We have always had good central defenders. If you go back from the Mark Hagler-Wilson or the Anthony Carbett, if you go all the way back, you go to teams that like who are there? Carlton Alexander, the Reno team that had Linval Palo Wilson, they had the Birdies and the Mark Hagler. You go back into the days, Donovan Panton at Boys Town. We have always had Marco McDonald. You go back to Eugene Williams. When you go all the way back, we have always had good defenders. We have always been able to find very good creative players and attacking players and goalkeepers. Remember in the World Cup qualifying, we had Warren Barrett, we had Aaron Lawrence, there was Lax Lurie, there was Clive Simmons before that, they called him Ninja. We have always produced good keepers and good goal scorers. The problem we have always had is in this D-mid area. And we have also struggled at right back. Over the years, I think Alvis Powell is the one who has come on. Remember, we had Fabian Davis, we had Sharty Malcolm. You remember what happened with the team? We went for a guy called Frank Sinclair. How many of you remember that? There was a Dean Sewell at the time as well. But right back is a place we have struggled. Our right wing back, however you want to classify it. On the left side, we have always been able, we had a Gregory Mess, and we have always been able to produce over the years at least one left-footed defensive player who serves the national team well. Now we have a Kemar Taxi Lawrence. So what's my point? My point is that we have to look outside of Jamaica for a holding midfielder right now. And then in the future, we need to look at developing a core group of them. Like you're Anglin, this young guy Anglin from Harborview, who is, I think, at Inter Miami right now. We have to develop these guys for the future. And Willis. Develop them for the future. But right now, for this campaign, we have to look outside of Jamaica. For right back, we have Alvas Powell, but we can't have one right back for the World Cup qualifying and the Gold Cup. We need at least two. One that can play on the right side of the centre backs and also as a right back, and then we have an out-and-out right back and a right wing back. Same thing on the left side. It can't be Cameron Lawrence and Alvas Powell alone. So we need able replacement in those two areas. And we need some holding midfielders. We have had to be using Michael Hector, who is a central defender, to play there. We don't have the quality in our nation right now, so we have to look elsewhere. We need players outside of Jamaica, outside of the USL, outside of the MLS. So we need to look to England, because there are players there who say, I want to play for Jamaica. They still have the option of waiting to play for England. They may not, but they still have the option. And so they are choosing to represent Jamaica. So you have heard names like Kevin Stewart, Isaac Hayden, Lewis Baker. So many names are being thrown out there. But we need someone in that capacity. We need a right back. We also need a left back, person who can replace. All right. We need centre forward. We have Corey Burke, Javon East. Let's look at the local players. Shamar Nicholson, who is right now performing as the best out of the lot. Because Corey Burke he's in the Philadelphia Union team. They're in the CONCACAF stuff, but he's on the bench. Very good forward. I mean, many people have him above Shamar Nicholson. I rate Shamar Nicholson, right? Because he's a youngster, very good. But Shamar Nicholson, in and of himself, cannot do it alone. We need an essential. And Javanese is good, Derva Argyle is good, but I think Derva Argyle, good player. I think he's probably past his prime, and because he's not at the highest level, I think it affects him getting an automatic selection. So when you have like Antonio Valencia, Anthony Gray, I think a guy called Kemar Roof is available, and the possibility of Ivan Toney, we have to look at those options. McGee is a very good footballer. But is he ready right now to bring us to the World Cup? I don't believe so. But I think in the future, McGee and Lamar Walker are going to be instrumental in Jamaica's football, and they need to be developed. What they need around them is players who are better than them to help them get better. And so we need the KC Palmer, the Ravel Morris, the Bobby Reed. We need them. Nathan Redmond, we need him. We hear that Kyle Walker-Peters may be interested in playing for Jamaica. He's a right back who plays for Southampton, who was at Tottenham. We need them. So let's free our minds. Let's free our minds. Let's free our minds. Free our minds of this idea that we can do it. Jamaica qualified for one World Cup and needed, I want you to remember this, and needed people from outside of Jamaica. Dean Burton, Paul Hall, Fitzroy Simpson, all of these guys came in. Let's say that. Our female football team qualified, and majority of those players did not play in our local football competition that brought the team to the World Cup. We need to remember that. At the youth level, it is a whole lot easier. Whole lot easier. Because Jamaica, as much as our development infrastructure is not the best, here's the thing. Somehow, at the youth level, we are able to dominate in CONCACAF to an extent. But how we move from youth to senior is the problem. And we have to find a way to fix that gap that is there so that more of our players can matriculate from the youth level but to the senior level. But until then, we must look at players outside. Here's the other thing. I want you to think about this. You believe that if all of these guys out of the Premier League comes and play for Jamaica, teams that they represent will not now look at other Jamaican players? This is creating a window for us, an open door. Because players, you play with Mikel Antonio or Nathan Redmond, and you never know. They go back to their clubs and say, hey man, there's this guy who plays, a Lamar Walker. You should look at him. He's playing in the USA right now, but I think he can come in. They may have some connection to some League One clubs or some championship club that they can work out stuff for our local players. So see it as an opportunity. It's not an obstacle. It's not an obstacle. And so I want us to embrace them like we embrace them money when them Western Union it and money grab it to you. Embrace them like when them send them barrel. If we have such a problem in this COVID thing, the diaspora, that they call it, the people in England and in America, the Jamaicans, some of them never been here. The amount of resources they have sent to Jamaica, I've never heard any Jamaican say, send it back, we don't want it. So if they are coming to help us with our football, allow them to. They want to, because they don't have to. I keep telling people this, a lot of these players, they have the house and the cars and they have the money. They don't need to play for Jamaica. $2,000 don't change them. Especially the ones who are older, who are at the twilight of their career. They are going into retirement. So when they are doing it, there must be a part of them that believe, I can make a contribution to this process. I want you to consider that. Because I am sure if we have an integration of both sets of play. I love Kemar Lawrence. Since Ricardo Gardner, he's the most exciting defender we have had. Lowe, I think, is a very good centre-back, and he needs, I think, if Lowe were to play with like a Mason Holgate or a Liam Moore, he will only get better. And I foresee him, if we do well in the Gold Cup and World Cup qualifiers, playing in one of the top clubs in England. I see Shamar Nicholson, if he plays with some of these guys, getting a contract to a bigger club. This is an opportunity for them. Opportunity. Don't see it as an obstacle. Don't see it as an obstacle. This is an opportunity. And here's the thing. I know this. The more the competition is in the team, it is the better the team will perform. I am sure that if we have Antonio and Ivan Toney and Shamar Nicholson, Corey Burke, and Andre Gray, and Jamal Lowe, all battling for that center forward position. Listen, training is going to be intense. And their performances week to week in their clubs is going to be intense. When a man gets an opportunity, he's going to want to score. They are going to be hungry to perform because they know Kemar Lawrence has not had anybody for years now challenging him. Neither has Alvas Powell. So we need this in the team. We need this. We need people to be pushing Bobby Reed. We need people to be pushing Daniel Johnson. I don't want any player to walk. I don't want Leon Bailey to walk into this to believe that he's a sure pick and it's a sure start. I want him to be questioning, boy, if I play bad, will I play the next game? Because someone just as good as him is sitting in the wings waiting on an opportunity. That's how top clubs and top teams perform. Unless, of course, you're a Lionel Messi or a Cristiano Ronaldo or a Harry Kane in England or a Haaland in a Norway team. Outside of that, brother, competition is necessary. This is I Am Sure Sport. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What would you add? What would you take away? Leave a comment. Subscribe. Like, share, and follow. Again, thank you so much for taking time. It was indeed our pleasure. One day at a time. Best way to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Slowly, but surely, staying true to who we are and what we are.